At Five Star Bank, community is at the heart of what we do. Every day we strive to have thoughtful solutions for our customers and help our communities prosper. Honest dialogue about the issues affecting the region is vitally important to that prosperity. We are proud to be part of the conversation and hope you'll join in.
Retirement means many things to many people. Visions of pursuing dreams deferred, reconnecting with close friends and loved ones, maybe even reinvention. All are a part of the traditional notions of retirement. The baby boom generation is redefining retirement. Today, we talk with two retirees who answer that timeless question for those of us approaching retirement. What's next? Joining us today in partnership with the American Leadership Forum are Jim Williams, a retired architect, and Donna Burke, a retired executive. Jim, how did you know it was time?
Well, it's a little bit complicated because we at Williams and Patton, we had made plans for retirement, and so we had a 10-year buyout going for the company. But it's still not the impetus to take that first step into the unknown. And I think this year I had a number of events. I lost my 97-year-old mother who took away my sense of immortality. And I also hit the golden age of 65, which you're drilled into from a young age, that's the time that you're supposed to retire. And I really did want to go ahead and see what was next and explore that unknown world. And so on my 65th birthday, I told the firm that was it, and I've stepped out into this brave new world, and we'll see if I flunk retirement.
You talk about the loss of your mother and how it impacted your sense of mortality. Share with us a little bit about that.
Well, you know, I don't think you can ever truly feel old as long as you have a parent that thinks of you as their child. Right. And when that changes, you begin to realize that this whole game does not go on forever. And so you start putting a lot more thought into, okay, how do I want to spend that time, and what is truly long-term important, and what can I do with the rest of my life that can give me a great deal of satisfaction and continue a sense of accomplishment.
Donna, what precipitated your transition?
Well, ALF. I'll start with ALF.
American Leadership Forum.
American Leadership Forum. We were on the retreat, walking up the hill, and you have a lot of time to reflect. And I got that aha moment that I'm not happy, but I have another 10 years before I reach the age where I'm supposed to retire, although on paper I was eligible. So the company was going through a downsizing, and my name came up. In fact, I had an ALF meeting that day, and I said, I hope they call my name.
Really?
Because my husband thinks I've got another 10 years. I don't want to do this for another 10 years. So they called my name, and I gladly accepted.
What was it that took an outside event, made it different, that an outside event kind of nudged you in that direction? Why weren't you able to get there on your own?
Well, I had, according to my friends and the people at AT&T, I had the best job. I worked with the community. I knew what was happening internally. I had a lot of flexibility with my schedule, excellent salary. Who could not want to do that forever? But I wasn't living. I came back to Sacramento to spend more time with my family. My parents were aging. The people I grew up with were here. I did not know how to say no at work. So I was working basically 15, 20 hours a day. I didn't know how to live. And I didn't know how to tell people I want out. So when the company said, we need this space, it was like, oh, I have permission. I can leave now.
That's interesting. Yeah. How many times it is that we won't give ourselves permission and we have to get it from somebody else?
I think that's a challenge, especially in, if we're going to talk about our baby boomer generation. I've often puzzled about what kind of mindset and how it came to us, because we became, a lot of us, workaholics, so much devotion to the job, and we forgot the balance in life. And maybe even now it's become an either-or thing for us. I don't see the younger generation having that same kind of challenge of achieving work-life balance that many in our generation.
Well,
do.
is it part of the issue that we're so wrapped up in our identities that we kind of define ourselves through what we do?
I think that was part of it. Also, for me, it was my parents drilling into me having a responsibility and then living up to that. So I had to do the best I could do. And to me, that meant investing a significant amount of hours, almost to the point of not placing my family as a priority. And to your point, my son now, who's 26, has said he never wants a job like I had.
Really?
He said, there's too much to life, Mom, and you sacrificed way too much.
It is kind of interesting about that, because I was reading recently that young people, regardless of where they start at, they follow lifestyle now more than a particular job opportunity. I want to live in a place, and I'll figure out what to do.
Yeah, I was fortunate in the fact that I had a career that I enjoyed, in a profession of architecture, which gives you exposure to a lot of different things. And I like to think I tried to keep my life integrated as well as I could, but yet when you're an owner in a business, there are all the other demands that come to you, and not the least of which is feeling that sense of responsibility for everybody that works there, and making sure that you perform in a way that keeps their livelihood in front of them. And when you would go through the downturns, it can be excruciating, because you have to make tough decisions. And as many people will remember, we're just coming out of one of the most significant one of those downturns. And so that was probably another thing, in seeing that we'd gotten, business was coming back to a point where I could feel comfortable in letting go some of that responsibility as well, and feeling like there were people in place that could do a great job of keeping things going.
It almost sounds like there are two tracks to retirement. Because on the one hand, there are folks who are going to be able to transition out. But then you read a lot of the reports that say that because of the losses of the downturn, you mentioned that a few moments ago, some folks are going to have to continue working, and their retirement is not really retirement. It's sort of a quasi-subsistence.
Yeah. Well, and it is going to be a big challenge. People have to make good decisions, and a lot of times, obviously, they've shown that people kind of tend to panic when things are going down. Warren Buffett says that's the best time to buy, but we're all human, and we don't always make those choices correctly. And the one thing, in even talking about the younger generation, the one thing that they probably need to focus on most, if they can pursue that career, but they better save on a regular basis to make sure that they are able to sustain a lifestyle of choice.
That's true. I have a number of friends who say that they'd love to be able to retire, but they can't afford to do so. I was fortunate enough to work for a company that offered a pension, and we also had the 401k. But when I left, I thought, well, now I've got to get another job. I unfortunately became ill 2 weeks after I retired. I ended up with breast cancer. So for the next year, I was trying to take care of myself. And I think that was God's way of letting me know, slow down, make yourself a priority, and no, you don't have to work 24 hours a day. In fact, you don't need to work at all. Let the next generation come through.
How did your breast cancer, coming right on the heels of retirement, affect you?
Well, mentally, it was very disturbing. I announced the fact that I had the disease at an American Leadership Forum session, and I was immediately surrounded by family and friends, and they helped me get through the treatments because I ended up with chemotherapy as well as radiation. So I had a very aggressive form of cancer. But the peace of mind, and that seems strange, but I did have a peace of mind with it. I told myself that I really didn't have cancer. God just knew I was so hard-headed that I was going to jump right back into another job. And this gave me time to realize that I can give back to the community and not necessarily have to get income and spend time, quality time with my family. And I'm so glad I did that because my dad ended up with a severe illness the following year. And then my mom was showing early signs of Alzheimer's. When my dad passed, my mom's case was exacerbated, and then she left us earlier this year. So technically, I'm really only retired this year.
Well, that sounds like a lot of living in a really short time. What lessons did you take from that set of experiences?
Well, we say life is short. I know that life is short, and you don't know what's going to happen from day to day. So live your life as though today is your last day. I have a lot more fun. I laugh a lot. I have no problem with telling people what I really feel. I try to couch it in a way where it's not going to hurt their feelings. But I appreciate and value life so much more now, and what I've been provided an opportunity to experience. So I live for the moment.
What have you learned along the way, Jim?
You know, I think, even listening to that life-altering events, is that you get a sense of gratitude that you've been able to do what you've been able to do for that long, and I at least personally feel like here's a chance to be able to participate, to recreate, or more wholly involved in that sense of community, to be of service to people. I'm probably most excited right now, I think, in some ways about being on the board of Placer Community Foundation because of the number of ways that we can provide different assistance throughout the greater community. I mentioned that I might be flunking retirement, but I'm still on the board of South Placer Municipal Utility District, and we had a very busy year with hiring a new general manager and all sorts of other critical projects. So I haven't had a moment of boredom yet, and I'm almost looking forward to it. And
Isn't that what we're afraid of? That we're going to be bored?
Yeah, I don't know that I was ever afraid of that, but I thought I would have more time to at least lay out my preferred order of business rather than just still having to do some that's kind of set out there for you.
Well, my husband has jokingly said, I haven't learned how to retire yet because I too am involved with a number of community-based organizations. 4 months after I was diagnosed, my husband retired. So he believes he has retirement down to what it's really supposed to be. He said he doesn't get up early, and he only does the things that he wants. Golf, fish, play with his computer, but he manages his time. And my definition of retirement is finding those organizations that I think I can contribute to and help, and then investing time with them.
What's given you meaning in terms of the organizations or causes that you're involved with?
It's having an impact on other people's lives, even to a small degree. If you find it, I'm on the Folsom Lake College Foundation Board, and when you find an individual who went through community college only because they were able to get a scholarship, and you know that you helped with the fundraising to make sure we had those scholarships in place, that means a lot to me. So, and then Capital Public Radio, like KVIE, they're helping inform and educate the community with quality programming. And I sit on the board at Capital Public Radio. I help raise the money to make sure that we can offer those types of programs.
You light up even as you're talking about these
do.
things.
And on the California Optometry Board, we're reviewing the educational requirements that it takes to be an optometrist. We process complaints of individuals who've had concerns about optometrists. If you have an opportunity to help consumers make the right decision in selecting their optometrist so that they can retain their vision, that means a lot. And because I'm retired, I can actually invest the time and the hours, not just I'm on the board, attend the meeting, review the agenda, and leave, but actually take the time to meet the staff, find out what's going on, talk to the community, and then try and influence change.
You both make retirement sound a lot more exciting than those of us on the other side of it would think of it. You know, a lot of times some of the thoughts that we have, and I'm sure that you both had these thoughts, are loss of identity, loss of influence, loss of meaning, and being really alone. It doesn't sound at all like what either of you are saying.
Well, not so far. When I was announced my retirement, I got a email from an old friend who had retired 3 or 4 years earlier, and just saying, congratulations and enjoy it. And I wrote back to him saying that, well, I hope I don't flunk. And he wrote back saying, well, just think of it this way, Jim, that retirement is doing what you want with who you want when you want. And he also instructed me that if you decide that you're going to be semi-retired, don't let the semi run over you. So, and that's my great fear.
What was the hardest thing for you to give up?
I don't, honestly, I don't feel like I had to give up. I just haven't had the sense of loss, that I understand the potential for that, but as some of you know, I've been involved in a lot of different aspects in the community over time, and I still am involved in a number of those. I still do some consulting back to my firm. I'll do some independent consulting here and there. This last couple of years, I was chair of the Placer County Charter Review Commission, and then we had a measure go on the county ballot for decision in November, and I chaired the campaign committee for that, and we succeeded in passing it, which was a good sense of accomplishment. So I'm almost like the old days, just looking forward to the holidays so that I won't be quite that busy.
So you can slow down.
Yeah.
Right.
What about for you, Donna? What was the hardest thing to give up?
I believe part of my job was managing our contributions, investing in the community. So I do miss sometimes hearing about a nonprofit organization that's in need of funding and not being able to say, oh, contact AT&T and we'll be able to help you. Mm-hmm. But I feel like I gained more than I've given up because I can now attend functions and enjoy the event, not have to be, I'm Donna Burke with AT&T, and be on the entire time of the event. I can go to a Kings game and sit back and enjoy and not think, oh, how is this going to reflect on the company? How am I being perceived? So I got Donna Burke back, and it's because of retirement.
Now, I might comment that there is something, the relationships that you build. My business was almost a third of a century, and over that time you build relationships with colleagues and with people you work with. And those don't disappear, but the nature of it does change, and so you have to probably pay more attention to making sure that you stay connected where you do want to stay connected. And but even that's in a big sense is a positive because it's a matter of choice rather than an obligation.
I am curious about that as to how relationships change. Many times we defer. I really want to get together with this person. I'd really like to get to know this person better. And the crush of what's next mm-hmm. is always on top of us. How have your relationships changed, not only from your former professional colleagues, but also with friends and family?
Well, one thing I'm appreciating is that I have more opportunities to say yes to invitations to do various things. I don't have to do a whole bunch of planning about what I got to do to take vacation time or rearrange a schedule. So I am able to reconnect more with old friends if there's an opportunity. I've told myself that I want to say no to the obligations that bind you on an ongoing basis and say yes to more of the fun stuff. So there's a little change in mindset that comes with that.
Right. I would agree with that. I also, well, for me, I remember I had an executive director when I was coming up in my career who said, when you get to this level, remember that it's not you. It's the company that they like. It's the company that they care about. So I was very mindful of that. But as it turns out, when I retired, that was not the case. It really is the relationships. So if you're honest and you have great execution and you follow up, you're going to maintain those relationships as long as they were legitimate. Now, I do have some people that won't return my call because I'm not Donna Burke, AT&T, but for the most part, I can still pick up the phone and say this organization needs help or this person needs some guidance and advice.
I think that is a fear that many have, which is that the minute that you step away and you no longer command influence or resources, wherever they may be and however they're shaped, that you become kind of an unperson.
Right.
You know, almost like the old story of the horse that's put out on the back 40 before they're sent to the glue factory.
But you know what, Scott, if that's how they thought of you, then you probably aren't going to miss them. Because if they only thought of you for what they could get or because of a perceived perception of power, then those aren't the kind of relationships that are going to mean that much to you.
It wasn't a legitimate relationship in the first place.
So in a sense, that can almost be a useful screening tool for the rest of your life.
Your true friends.
Right.
And do you ever miss, either one of you miss, being involved in sort of the big conversations where it is that you are constantly called on? You get to make the choice now as to where you want to be involved. But do you ever miss being in that swirl and say, gosh, you know, I'm not necessarily an automatic part of the conversation like I used to be?
I don't miss it.
I, quite frankly, I'm still getting some opportunities for some of those kind of things. There's a number of things that go on, especially in Placer County, and so I have stayed involved with a lot of those kind of opportunities. My challenge right now is to just make sure that I don't
Let the semi.
over-involve don't let the semi run over me, because I am constantly attracted to things that have to do with, you know, the greater development of the community and the improvement of it. But I just want to choose the times and places where
You impact it.
I impact it.
And it's how you impact it. You don't necessarily have to be part of the group that's convening the forum. There's nothing to preclude you from attending the forum and still raising your voice. And in some ways, you have a lot more impact and influence that way.
Well, speaking of raising one's voice, I'm curious as to, there is another impact, which is now that you're at home on a regular basis, both of you, how's that impacting the lives of the people that are important to you in your life? Do they actually like having you around?
Well, my husband also retired, so now we're in closer proximity than we were for about 20 years. But the kids left. My oldest son moved to Oregon. He works at Intel, and my youngest is now attending Sac State, and he's staying at the dorm. So because of my level of involvement in the community, I'm out of the house more than I'm in it. So the impact probably isn't the same the way it would be for some retired couples.
Well, my wife was a flight attendant for years, so we had this lifestyle where sometimes she was there and sometimes she was gone. And then during the big downturn after 9/11, she had a hasty retirement that was sooner than she had retired, and it kind of got to be, how can I miss you if you won't go away? And so we basically do have to pay more attention to making space for each other. And I just got back from being away in Oregon with golfing with good friends for 4 days, and she's happy to see me back, but I don't think she was, wrought with grief that I was gone for 4 days.
Right. And my husband is away fishing right now. He's been gone for a week. And last month, I left for a week with my girlfriend and stayed in the Bahamas. So
All of those sound fantastic and something that many of us aspire to. Thank you both.
thank you. I enjoyed it.
That's our show. Thanks to our guests and thanks to you for watching Studio Sacramento. I'm Scott Syfax. See you next time right here on KVIE.
At Five Star Bank, community is at the heart of what we do. Every day we strive to have thoughtful solutions for our customers and help our communities prosper. Honest dialogue about the issues affecting the region is vitally important to that prosperity. We are proud to be part of the conversation and hope you'll join in.
All episodes of Studio Sacramento, along with other KVIE programs, are available to watch online at kvie.org/video.